Good afternoon, beautiful souls. How are you all today? I hope you're well. So I'm continuing today in the garden where I left off the other day when I came to film my little October tour. And as I was mentioning that day, goodness me, the weather has changed. I'm back to, well, I was going to say hoodie, this one hasn't got a hood. Long sleeve t-shirts, long leggings, Wellington boots. It feels quite nice actually. It's a good change. I like a bit of a change. But it sort of snuck up on me, and I don't know, it seems to have changed really quickly this year. And it's that constant reminder of, you know, the garden never ever stands still. It's never finished. It doesn't stand still. It needs a little bit of help from me, from us. So I'm girding my loins for quite a busy October. Lots of picking, lots of putting beds to sleep for the winter, that sort of thing. I remembered this morning to bring with me my saved broad bean seed. So if you remember, I think it was the end of June, July that I finally gathered my seeds. I did my main harvest of broad beans at the beginning of June. I mean, it seems like 2 minutes ago, it's bonkers. So yeah, I did my main harvest of broad beans at the beginning of June. I left in 4 or 5 plants, my healthiest plants with my best looking pods on. I just left them be in the ground. It's probably 2 months actually. I think it's towards the end of July. I let them just dry naturally on the plant, gathered the seeds, spread them out at home to give them a thorough final drying, and then practicing my new technique as recommended by the Coanga Institute in New Zealand. Thank you, Dave, for that link initially 6-7 years ago. They went in these jars, airtight containers, into the freezer for 3 days just to kill off anything that might be in them. They have to be bone dry. They have to be bone dry before you do that. Otherwise you're going to have rupturing cells and they'll be no good. Came out of the freezer, don't take the lid off, just let them come back to room temperature. Still really cold. It's been out of the freezer for ages, it's just a cold day. And here we are, ready to start planting for next year again. It's crazy bonkers. Oh, it feels crazy bonkers to me. A lot of air traffic today. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on, but there we go. So yes, this month the broad beans are going in, the garlic are going in, and because where the garlic are going in, that's going to be one of my first jobs today, because something else needs to come out. Before I do that, a couple of things to just catch up on. When I made the achocha curry video, I was saying I didn't know anything about the nutritional benefits. Thank you everybody for all your recipe ideas, links, what have you. I don't understand how when I searched for achocha, I didn't find any of those links myself. Never mind, food for thought. And I couldn't quite put my finger on the taste when I was eating them. It's pepper, sweet pepper, that was the taste. It was gorgeous. And having decided that, yes, I like it, I thought, oh, brilliant. Good harvest. Of course now, as you will have seen from the tour video, I've kind of missed the harvest because of the cold. Never mind, there are a few I can pick. The main thing is now that I'm not scared to cook with them. I've got all sorts of ideas of things I want to try. There may still be a harvest that I can try with. If not, certainly next year. Loads of ideas which I'll share with you as the time comes. In terms of nutritional benefits, I did a bit of looking up. They can help to lower cholesterol. They're great for people with gastrointestinal issues. Now, I couldn't find out why, but I heard a lot of mentions for it's good for people with diabetes. So I've got to assume, therefore, that they're quite good at sort of keeping a stable blood sugar. Not entirely sure on that. So if you do have diabetes and you're trying to manage it with diet, because I know some people do manage it with their diet, probably worth looking into. Do your own research. maybe talk to a nutritionist about it, but it might be a useful adjunct in your diet. Otherwise, they're anti-inflammatory, diuretic, that means it makes you pee, and has analgesic properties. So one of the things I read, really interesting, is to boil them in milk and then use that milk to ease a sore throat, sore from tonsillitis. So yeah, there we go. Interesting stuff. I love all this kind of stuff. I love finding out. Right, a couple of thank yous now. Cami, first of all, thank you. Mountain Tea as tea bags. I've never seen it sold like this. I've always just seen it sold as a bunch of the herb. I haven't even opened it yet, but it's had added to it lemon balm and caraway. So I'm really looking forward to trying that. And like I say, yeah, I was just really surprised to see it as a tea bag, as opposed to just a bunch of the herb. Brilliant. I now have to thank Phil for a wee painting. Isn't that adorable? He's painted me a ladybug for the shed. I don't know where she's going to, I think she's going to hang over there somewhere. Oh, Phil, I really appreciated that. Thank you. And I'll just say that I know it's not easy to hold a paintbrush these days, Phil, so I really appreciate that. Thank you. And as Phil said, it might not go in a gallery somewhere, but it can go in La Galerie de Vivi. Yay, thank you. And last thing before we get out into the garden, just to show, this may not be too clear. You see this one here. So about a week or so ago, I noticed some of my rosdaban had some signs of blight. So I thought, right, you know what, harvest what's there, chop, get rid of the plant, and leave these in the shed to see if they'll ripen. But also, I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago, I leave them in the shed just in case any blight has got into the fruit, because it's not always visible straight away, and I don't really want to eat blighted fruit. I don't know how good or bad that is for me. I've never done any research, but I just don't want to eat bad food. So I'm glad I set these aside here, because you can see, can you see in there, the blight had obviously got into the fruit too. So they are going to be chucked and my chug is going to be cleaned. Never mind. It hasn't been a massive year for tomatoes for me, but I think I was doing a bit of a recce in my freezer and my bottled. I think I've got enough for the equivalent of, if you imagine buying a tin of chopped tomatoes, I've got, I think, the equivalent of 1.5 tins per week for a year. That should do me, actually. That should do me. So, roast to burn, yeah. Tomatoes in general, nah, not fab, but enough to eat. Right, chop chop, it's lots to get on with, so let's get out there in our wellies and, I was going to say roll our sleeves up, maybe not roll sleeves up today because it is quite chilly, but let's just go and get on with the work. First job of the day, clear all the potato tops. So this is my main crop potatoes, and I need this bed for planting my garlic. So I'm planning to lift the potatoes in about 2 weeks or so. Sorry, it's going to be noisy for a second. I will compost the tops because there's no blight in them. Ideally, I would wait until the potato tops have died back, give it a couple of weeks, and then lift the spots. Because once the tops have died back, the skins, so the potatoes all snugly in the soil, the skins will start to cure. All that means is they start to toughen up, dry out and toughen up, and that's its storage package, if you like. That's what's going to keep them, or help them to keep for longer. Now, there's so much green growth here still, it's just not going to happen. They're just not going to die back before I need to lift them. Like I say, it's only 2 weeks away. So to sort of trick, I'm kind of trick nature, or at least trick the potatoes in the ground to think that the foliage is all died, it's all done, it's now time to toughen up a bit. That's the plan anyway. If when I come to lift them, well, hopefully it will be a sunny day, so when I lift them, I'll spread them out in the sunshine for a couple of hours just to really dry off before I then store them in the paper sacks I make from old newspapers. But the way the weather's been going, there's every chance when I lift them it's going to be a really soggy, muddy day. When I do lift them, I knock off the worst of the mud, but I never clean them. I don't want to touch those skins at all until I'm ready to prepare them for cooking, because like I say, that skin, it's its package, so I don't want to start washing them, scrubbing them, rubbing them too much and possibly damage the skin in any way, and therefore increase the chance of them spoiling in store. So yes, get all this done. And again, it's another lovely chunk of green to add into the compost at this time of year when so much is brown. I can just about see the tops of the stalks, so that when it does come time to lift them, it will give me a good idea of where to stick my fork in, so that hopefully I don't spear too many. Now, a lot of people on the site have already lifted their main crops, and I've been, as always, just chatting to people about how's your harvest been, how are your spuds, and everyone I've spoken to so far, they've all had really rubbish harvests, God love them. They've had a mixture of slugs and eelworm attack. I think it's eelworm. So, I honestly don't know what to expect from mine. I think maybe expect the worst and then I won't be disappointed. But in fact, potatoes they're not something I'm massively fussed about. So if I lost the entire crop, well, yeah, I'd be disappointed, of course I would. But it wouldn't be as devastating as, say, if I lost my entire tomato harvest. Oh, I can't even bear to think about that. Goodness me. So yeah, give them a couple of weeks now. Get the spuds lifted. And then in terms of preparing for what's going in here, garlic. In terms of preparing for the garlic, obviously I'll be disturbing the soil quite a bit and digging up the spuds. It won't need a dig. And probably what I'll do is I'll give it a top dressing with the dried chicken manure pellets, and then give it a couple of days. We may get a bit of rain, hopefully. Let those dissolve a bit, rake them in a bit, and then get planting. And hopefully also by then I might find something to mulch the bed with, because obviously at the stage of planting I'm going to be basically creating a big bed that's all bare soil, and we don't want that over the winter. Okay, well, I'll get on with this. Oh, someone go and put the kettle on, eh? I fancy a brew. Do you remember a couple of weeks or so ago, I've lost track of time, one of my jobs was sorting out this path and fence between me and my neighbours. Yay! Obviously I've got all my hooks ready for hanging my poles. Well, here's the irony, I forgot to mention it at the time. I'd finished doing my bits here and was getting ready to pack up, and then my lovely neighbours turned up, and it had been their plan for the day to clear this area too. So they've done a massive cut back. They've cut it all out now. And then they've just erected this little sort of cradle of pallet wood to lay down things which don't rot very quickly. They've got some branches in there, some sunflower stalks. The idea being that it can just sit there, be a little bit of a haven for insects. Birds can come and hop along on the top and see if they can peck some insects out. And it's just somewhere tidy for them to stash this stuff that takes forever to rot down. And as they're hoping, it'll sort of act as a bit of a fence so that the brambles won't come and invade our path anymore. So I was chuffed, absolutely chuffed to bits that they did this, and they were laughing. They were chuffed to bits that I'd already tackled so much of the path. So yay! And my next job is going to involve me using my little hooks. Do you ever have those days in the garden where, because there's so much to do, you just don't know what to do? I'm definitely in that kind of mood today. It's like everywhere I look, I see something that needs doing. And I was just having a nice long chat with Gary, and even as we were chatting, I was sort of going, oh, that's something else I need to do. It feels like far too much of what needs doing is a priority. Put it this way, too many things are a priority that it means, oh, I'm not even making sense today. Still a bit tired. Yeah, I can't do everything in one day that's a priority. So yeah, it's definitely one of those days where I just find myself standing at the end of a bed looking and just, oh dear, empty brain. I was thinking, as I sometimes do on days like today, not the thinking bit, I'm always thinking, but yeah, sometimes if I really don't know where to start, the easiest thing is to actually just go one bed at a time. I find that especially useful if it's sort of all the more sort of tidying and maintenance type of things. So I'll start at bed one here and I'll say, right, this whole bed needs weeding, tying in, cutting back, whatever it is, all those maintenance type jobs, like I say. So I thought about doing it that way today. But I was thinking, if I do bed number one, and I was thinking, well, that's not really the priority. I should be doing that, and I should be doing... So, I was on the cusp of just giving up, of thinking, I don't know what to do, I'm going to go home. So rather than do that, I'm going to just do something. Because in doing something, hopefully it will trick my body and brain into action. So I thought, right, well, I'll start with the cucumber frame, get it dismantled, because as I was mentioning in the tour video, I had the last of the cucumbers off at the end of September. Oh, they did so well this year, absolutely just relentless harvesting. And yes, I did give a few away, but that's nice, isn't it? Yeah, brilliant harvest, but finished at the end of September, took the foliage down, got it chopped up into the compost bins, ready for spreading. And it makes sense for me to do this today because I will need to use this bed. I need a knife. I need to use this bed in a couple of weeks to sow my broad beans. I was thinking, I'm just sort of rationalising and thinking out loud with you now. I was thinking about having all the remaining peppers out today. I was thinking about that because of the weather, because of worrying about frost. but having checked the forecast, these couple of cold nights we've had, we shouldn't be having anything like that again for a couple of weeks. So they could stay in. They could stay in for now. Having said that, they need to come out anyway for the broad beans. This is the decision-making process I go through every time I'm in the garden. Normally I have more clarity of thought than I do today. So yeah, I'll get this frame down and stashed behind the fence, and then I'm so indecisive. I think probably what would be a really good idea today, I'm not going to harvest the chickpeas, they're okay, they're still quite green, a lot of them, but I think I might just go through all the rest of my beans now and pick off any that are green. I'll pod and freeze them demi-sec. Any that are on their way to being dry, I think I'm probably going to take them home to dry, because everything is so damp at the moment from all that rain we've had. And the shed is really quite cool now. I think they'll be better off coming home with me where it's much warmer. Obviously my flat's dry, but mainly because it's warmer, I can spread them out and make sure they get properly dry. Is that what I should do today, Rusty? Rusty's sitting right underneath you. What do you think, buddy? Does that sound like a good plan? Get this down, pick all the beans. Tomato plants can wait, they can just stand in the ground. I don't need that bed just yet. Squash will be fine to leave to harvest another day. Yeah. Let's have a beanie day. I feel like I've been having a beanie day every day for months now. Not quite months. Oh, the great thing is, whilst Gary and I were just chatting, I was extolling the virtues of the achopcha. So I've just given him a couple of the more mature fruits for seed and a couple of the younger ones just for him to try. And we were just having a little discussion about seed swaps for next year. We're already talking about next year. So I'm going to save some Coco Sophie for him. I just showed him one now and he was quite impressed at the size of the beans. So he's going to have some of those, and he's going to give me a tomato that his whole tomato bed was devastated by blight apart from 4 plants. Doesn't know what the variety is. He had a plant last year, he saved the seed from it, they came great again this year. Apparently it's a really nice tasting tomato, but the main thing is these 4 separate plants didn't get any blight when the rest of his bed was black with blight. So he's going to give me a couple of those seeds. I love seed swapping anyway. I also love days like this where, I know I'm just chatting away now, but yeah, these kind of days where on the one hand I feel a bit overwhelmed by the amount of work that needs doing, to the extent where I'm like, what am I supposed to be doing? Oh, there's another neighbour down. Yeah, so it's great on these kind of days when I can just chat to another plotter, and it just helps me organise my thoughts a bit and think about what needs doing, and it gives us the opportunity to get in there first with each other with our seed swapping. Fab. We have an AGM for the whole allotment site in March each year, and what was nice last year when we had the AGM is loads of took all sorts of our saved seeds along and had a big seed swap of them. Perfect time. Give everyone a chance to get them going. Oh, this is going to take me forever. But that's okay, because as I'm doing it, I can think about the next job. Well, the job after the beans. What fun. I've decided to prioritise harvesting these are the Rockcore beans, because all the other beans in the garden I've already done quite a few picks from, in terms of for saving both the seed and for saving some for dry for eating. However, I haven't done that with the Rockcore at all yet. Oh my goodness, little tiddlers here. The air is so moist. I mean, it feels like at any minute we could have an absolute downpour again. So, yeah. Everything else I have seed for, they can all wait. These I don't, so they can't. Actually, it saved my back. I'll just pull the whole plant out so I don't have to bend so far. They do not look much now, but my goodness, they are a beautiful bean when they're fresh at the height of summer. Too much of a stretch. I want to make sure I get every last little precious one of them, not just for my own seed saving, but loads of people have asked me for Rockcore seeds for next year, so I do want to get as many as possible. You're not Rockcore. I must have plugged a gap with something. What are you? Maybe you are, not sure. Not dry, not dry. Where next? Is this reprobate approaching my shed?
Try this, taste and seed.
So is this the These are the ones. So I was just mentioning.
Free.
Oh, I've got a slug on me. I was just mentioning how your basically your whole lot of tomatoes were completely devastated.
23 varieties of tomato, 38 plants, all gone, except for these. Stayed green, no blight at all, in the middle of all the others.
So this one, because it's got ever so slightly a pointy end. I wonder
if it's pointy ends.
Is it a type? Do we think it's a type of plum?
I don't think so. I've got no idea.
I'm getting you with the dahlias in the background. You look gorgeous with the dahlias. So we don't know what variety it is.
No idea. It's. I suspect it might be an F1, but it's from seed from last year. Someone gave me a plant which is about a foot tall, 30 centimetres tall. I put it in. It cropped well. It didn't get blight. I took seeds. These are the result of last year's seeds.
Gorgeous.
So these are actually first year seeds, or what I call first year seeds.
Yeah.
Bred by myself and they've been good. They've been no blight at all.
I know. I saw
one plant.
Because when you were off for a couple of weeks, and then I came down one day, and your whole patch was black, apart from these 4. So fantastic. Okay, I'm gonna. Firstly, I'll be able to. I'm gonna have a little salad tonight. Yeah. I've got my last cucumber. Yay!
Well, you can
I'll have my last Greek salad of the year. Oh, do you know what I might put in it?
These are not quite ripe yet. They're just, but I don't leave them out anymore because of the frost, possible frost. So
I might have a salad tonight and add.
There you go.
In
keep
a couple
the seeds. Keep the seeds.
Baby atocha. That's fantastic. So because I've been looking for a new tomato for next year. Hang on, I can't balance them all. And one that's a good size for bottling, and it tastes good raw.
It tastes very nice raw, much more tasty than I'd imagine.
Because
you think of it being a beef steak or a marmande or something like that.
It's bigger than Gary's head.
Well, that takes some doing.
so it's a good taste, better than a marmande. Good to cook, good for raw.
Lots of flesh, but seeds in it as well, so you can take it.
And the main thing
and
is,
it crops heavily, and it's actually better than most of the beef steaks or plum. Certainly the plum tomatoes I've grown in the past. I've grown lots of varieties, and that is all I know. It's completely blight free.
It didn't get blight when everything else was utterly devastated. Thank you so much.
So 6 weeks of blight. There's still 1 or 2 are still sitting there.
Amazing.
And that's got nothing at all.
Beautiful.
And it tastes good.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy. Right, take care.
Cheerio. Oh, this has been a lovely afternoon in the garden. I still feel a bit overwhelmed about the amount of jobs that need doing through October, and I still feel a bit what to do first. But I've managed to crack into quite a few jobs this morning and this afternoon. Time's flown. It's obvious. It really feels now like we're going into a new season, and I'm actually quite enjoying sort of having thick socks and wellies on and my hoodie, and yeah, it's quite invigorating after those long, hot, languid days of summer. So yes, there's a lot to do. But what's great today is I was getting my knickers in a twist a bit earlier about what do I need to do, what's the priority, and I think certainly I can get to a stage where I end up doing nothing because I'm so which is why, for instance, I was saying with the cucumber frame, just do something, anything at all, just to try and help settle the mind and get a bit of clarity. And the good thing, I've done little bits in each of the beds today, so I've got a good overview now of where everything's at and what needs doing. So now I will just, when I get home in a minute, I'll make a list of what I need to do for each bed and look at my schedule for October. Some things are more time specific than others. So for example, clearing beds in order to sow the garlic and broad beans. That's more time specific than other stuff. Some stuff's more weather specific. So yeah, I'll just sit down with my schedule for October now, see where I can fit in some garden sessions, keep an eye on the weather, and it'll all happen. I can't wait. I'm actually really, really looking forward to all the jobs this month. I quite like the fact that in October things get a bit muckier again. I've got mud on my boots once more. I love that. I don't know why, but I do. So, yeah, it's been a good chance to just get an overview so that I can make a plan. you know, that's the key to it, isn't it? It's hard to plan if you don't have an overview. So if you're feeling a little bit like me at the moment too, a bit overwhelmed, actually one of the girls from next door has just turned up and said she is also feeling a bit overwhelmed by what needs doing. Spend an hour in the garden, have a walk around with a notebook and pen if necessary. Just have a nice gentle walk around, spot the jobs, make a note of them. Once you've got all your jobs on a list, you can then decide which ones are the priorities, and then have the joy of getting stuck in. Ooh, it's getting a bit chilly now that I've stopped and sat still. I'm getting a bit chilly, so I think that's my cue to get home, make myself some really yummy soup of some description. I don't know what. Hello, Rusty. Yeah, I've got no idea what soup I fancy, but it's definitely... What do you think, Rusty? Is it soup weather? Oh, he says no, it's a bowl of meow mix weather. Yeah, definitely time to go home and get warm. So, thank you for coming along today. As always, it's a joy to have you. But for now, it's cheerio from me and Rusty. Say cheerio to the lovely people. Beautiful boy. I'll see you again really soon, no doubt. Getting stuck into all these gorgeous jobs of autumn. Until then, please take care of yourselves and each other. See you soon.